The courtroom becomes quiet. The type of quiet that is heavy on your chest and causes each breath to be heavier. All eyes focus on the man who was once the head of a large family, a man who constructed his life under the lens of public scrutiny, while fissures intensified behind doors shut tight. Papers shuffle, a gavel rings out, and in an instant, the life Kody believed he had under his grasp starts to come untethered before him. This is not a battle of law alone. It's the revealing of years of secrets, betrayals, and lies. Christine's eyes never leave hers. Her face is serene, but with every fiber flames the anger of each moment. She felt ignored, unheard, erased. Janelle straightens more than ever, her determination etched into the contours of her face. And Robyn, once sweetly portrayed as the peacemaker, now appears cornered, dainty in a manner the cameras never could capture. The children, dispersed and separated, become the unseen burden here, voices no longer quieted, testimonies no longer suppressed. The air is electric, with the past crashing into the here and now. Every word that is spoken is not merely testimony. It's revelation, confession, accusation. Every gallery whisper suggests something beyond money, beyond land, beyond contracts. This is about justice. This is about truth fighting its way into the light, no matter what the price. And the most chilling aspect of it, what is exposed here is just the tip of the iceberg, because the testimony left unsaid could break the very foundations we believed we had. Let's get on with it. Be sure to subscribe to Sister Wife Daily Scoop, and let me know in the comments, whose truth do you think will sting the hardest? The judge's glasses slide forward on his nose as he leans forward, reading through the pages spread before him. The soft buzz of the ceiling lights seems louder than it ought to be, as if the room itself is striving to emphasize the seriousness of the moment. Kody fidgets uncomfortably in his seat, his jaw clenching, but his eyes refuse to lock with anyone else's. He was always the one to take charge, the one who dictated the atmosphere for the family. But today, bare of charm and bare of stage, he seems smaller. Not in size. His build remains the same, but in presence, in weight, in gravitas. Across the aisle, Christine examines him with a measured calm. She has no need to raise her voice or pound the table to get her point across. The force she brings is the result of years of silently bearing pain, of being told to settle for less, to endure the emptiness of abandonment. Now, for the first time, her voice carries the weight of the court with it. Janelle, beside her, nods discreetly, as if to offer support without taking attention. The solidarity between them is apparent, and it serves to make Kody's loneliness more pronounced. The clerk recites parts of the testimony aloud, a sequence of messages that appear innocuous at first glance. Phrases regarding hectic schedules, excuses wrapped in politeness. But when read in order, the pattern cannot be denied. Each unreturned message, each lagging reply, speaks volumes. A narrative of avoidance, of changing priorities, of a father's focus that appeared always elsewhere. The gallery leans forward, whispers slyly spreading as the truth dawns. Robyn holds a tissue to her lips, her hands shaking. For years she was positioned as the sympathetic one, the one who desired harmony, and others were the ones who sowed discord. But in this room, the focus changes. Each tear is less of an outpouring of empathy and more of a sign of desperation. The whispers become more pointed. Is she covering for him? Or for herself? Christine's lawyer stands up, his tone calm but measured, almost ham-like in its timing. He spreads out financial papers, spreadsheets, bank transfers, deeds to property. Each page is thrown onto the screen, each line item creating a path that starts with the family and disappears into something secret. Attention on his face is palpable when he mentions the Sedona property. He attempts to modify his face, but the flash of fear is frozen, not only by the court, but also by the multitudes of eyes that will see this instant replayed repeatedly. And this is the lethal beauty of evidence once shown. It cannot be unseen, it cannot be unheard, and it cannot be disregarded. The judge's eyes narrow. He says nothing, but his silence is more laden than any rebuke. Christine's attorney goes on, piecing together not only the narrative of money kept hidden, but of love withheld. He tells of choices left unmade, birthdays gone unmarked, phone calls left unreturned. He doesn't have to embellish. Each piece of information is corroborated by documents, by screenshots, by paper trails. The tension in the room builds as he describes how the property in question wasn't just an investment, but a symbol. Money made in the name of family, spent in the shadow of exclusion. To the children, to Christine, to Janelle, it was proof that they were not only emotionally sidelined, but financially erased. Kody clears his throat, breaking his silence at last. His tone is a blend of frustration and fatigue, as if all this is somehow below him. Families are complicated, he states, gruffly attempting a laugh, and sometimes decisions get misunderstood. But the words ring hollow. There is no charm here, no crowd willing to pardon. The only noise is the scratching of pens against paper, as reporters record his every utterance. Christine does not blink. Her silence is more eloquent than any explosion. Janelle clenches her hands into fists, the knuckles white, and Robyn buries her face in her tissue again. The judge's voice is low, sonorous, after so much silence. He does not provide answers yet, but the threat in his voice is unmistakable. This is only the start. The gallery breathes as a group, as if they have all been holding their breath, and just as it seems the worst of it has been exposed, a mere reference to sealed documents suggests that there's more, much more, hiding in the wings, sealed up for the time being. The sealed envelope sits on the judge's desk like a gun cocked and ready. Its lines are sharp, its weight nondescript, and yet the fact that it's mentioned has altered the atmosphere in the room. Individuals whisper, stretching their necks as if they will be able to see its contents through sheer will. Whatever it contains must be strong enough to be kept hidden from the public eye, and that lack of openness only serves to heighten the air of dread that fills the room. Kody's attorney fidgets uncomfortably, tightening his tie, the gesture betraying a high-strung energy he attempts to hide. He clears his throat, ready to object that these papers are immaterial, that the past must not be revisited in such a public forum. Before he can even get out the words, however, the judge holds up a hand, silencing him with a gesture that is more powerful than language. The envelope will remain sealed, at least for the moment. That single decision plants a question in every mind. If it's too dangerous to share here, what could possibly be inside? Christine's eyes drop, but a weak smile plays on the edge of her lip. It's not a smile of happiness, but of vindication, as if she understands the truth will just wait for its time to explode. Janelle's sideways glance is unspoken but real. Both women have endured years of silence, years of sacrifices downed whole, and now those years loom above Kody like storm clouds waiting to break. The next witness takes the stand. A young adult, a child, comes forward, their voice trembling initially but increasing with each sentence. They speak of memories not of rage, not of violence, but of absence. Memories of unfollowed texts, planned visits turned into excuses, milestones passed by without reason. The words are plain, but their destruction is complete. Every sentence is a mirror held in front of Kody, reflecting the father there in name but nowhere in deed. Robyn grips her tissue more tightly, her lips shaking. For an instant it seems she wishes to speak, to interrupt, but she does not. Her silence is stronger than any defense might be, because in silence guilt finds its loudest voice. Christine's lawyer walks slowly, almost in time, allowing the testimony to settle before continuing. "Did you ever feel you were a priority?" he asks. The silence before the response is drawn out agonizingly long. The child finally shakes their head, their eyes welling up with unshed tears. The gallery stirs again, some averting their gaze, unable to stomach the nakedness of the admission. And it's then that the burden of abandonment becomes heavier even than any fiscal deceit, the dawning understanding that time, once lost, cannot be purchased back. Kody's expression sets. His jaw works and he breathes sharply, as if his own child's words are mere crocodile tears. He attempts to interrupt, but the judge intervenes firmly, reminding him that this is no time for tantrums. The rebuke hurts, removing him once more from the influence he used to have over his family. Christine's attorney pushes on, drawing the courtroom further into the tale of concealed assets. Bank statements flash on the screen, deposits and withdrawals marked in strong red, patterns emerging like a puzzle taking shape piece by piece. Gallery viewers sit forward, their interest piqued by the hint of something buried beneath layers of paper. The lawyer connects the dots. Funds earned through the family's shared labor. The show's grueling schedules, appearances, and interviews, all funneled through accounts that quietly diverted into the Sedona purchase. He doesn't accuse outright, but the implication is clear. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. A choice that benefited some, while cutting others out entirely. Kody moves again, his fingers tapping on the table, the beat irregular and agitated. Robyn says something to him in a low voice, but he doesn't answer. His gaze is fixed on the screen, where row after row of figures speaks volumes louder than his refusals ever could. The judge reclines, hands clasped together under his chin. His silence is intentional, calculated, building the tension until it is close to being unbearable. And then the bombshell no one sees coming. A mention in the documents of an alternate account, an account never spoken of, one that asks as many questions as it answers. The gallery bursts into noise, gasps ringing off the wooden walls. Christine doesn't move, but Janelle's eyes go wide, her facade crumbling for the first time. Robyn's tears stream freely now, but whether they're products of fear, guilt, or something different altogether, nobody can say. The judge brings order with a resounding gavel blow, but it is too late. The seed has been planted. There is more beneath the surface than anyone had known, and the search for truth is just starting. The air in the courtroom is thicker now, as if the walls themselves are taut with tension from holding back the secrets that pour into the open. The revelation of the secondary account shook everyone, even those who thought they had already witnessed the worst. It's no longer merely about the money. It's about the trust that was broken long before a single dollar was stolen. Christine sits up straighter, her confidence honed by the revelation. For years she had borne the burden of being dismissed, of having her concerns labeled as jealousy or overreaction. But now the facts are turning the doubts into undeniable evidence. Her eyes lock onto Kody's, steady and unflinching, as if challenging him to rationalize what cannot be denied. Kody's face flushes with the anger of a man losing the battle to contain himself. He hunches forward over his lawyer, speaking in urgent undertones, his motions spasmodic and jerky. His lawyer hears him but says nothing, because even the best defense is no match for quantities carved into flesh and a paper trail that won't go away. Robyn, however, pales moment by moment. Her fingers wring the soggy tissue in her lap, her eyes straying across the judge, lawyers, and courtroom crowd. She appears less the reserved supporter and more like one in whom she fears her name will soon be called. Each flutter of apprehension in her eyes hints at a secret she's so desperate to conceal. The judge nods in the direction of the witness stand and a financial expert emerges. They're calm, reserved, starting to describe the workings of the account in plain language, each word specifically selected to pierce through legalese. They set out the transactions as puzzle pieces, assembling a picture growing murkier with each slide cast upon the screen. Show royalty deposits, withdrawals that fall suspiciously during the time of property acquisitions, payments routed towards undefined expenditures. The gallery tilts in, gasps caught, as if reading a suspense novel in real time. Each number is weighted with betrayal, each dollar a sign of another reminder of the broken trust of the family. And then the specialist reveals the fact that quiets even the murmurs. More than 2 names were signed on to the account, but just 2 were actively on there. Christine's attorney requests that their names be read out loud. The witness clears his throat, and quite unabashedly says them: Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. The effect is instantaneous. Gasps circulate through the room, the noise swelling like a tide. Christine's eyes flutter shut for an instant, not shock, but an agony of recognition. Janelle purses her lips, her grip around the armrest clenching as if bracing herself against the hurricane. And Robyn disintegrates. The tissue drops from her lap as sobs unfasten, racing quicker than she can hold them back. She shakes her head, mouthing silently, her whole body shaking. For a split second, it almost appears that pity could blunt the harsh edges of judgment. But then Christine's attorney speaks again. Mrs. Brown, did you profit from these secret funds while other wives and children went without? The silence that comes afterward is more incriminating than any admission. Robyn mouths something but nothing comes out. Her cries are the reply she cannot give, and that reply is louder than refusal ever could have been. Kody pounds his fist on the table, his voice elevated, shouting to be heard. He maintains it was strategy, financial strategy, and effort to safeguard the family's future. But the fractures in his defense are evident with every sentence. If this was indeed for the family, then why were so many in the dark? Why did two individuals have the vault keys, while the others were left speculating over why promises never equaled outcomes? The gavel of the judge rings out once. Silence restored but not order. Nobody in the room can unhear what has been uttered, because what just happened isn't merely financial exposure. It's the revelation of favoritism, of a hierarchy built in secret, one that turned the idea of unity into nothing more than a performance. Christine raises her chin, her voice piercing the silence finally. All we ever asked for was honesty. But honesty never figured in his plan. Her words sting more than the documents, more than the figures, because they capture the anguish of years of living in darkness while another person luxuriated in the light. The courtroom is now no longer merely a platform for legal debate. It's now the arena of truth and deception, of broken promises and betrayed loyalties. With every testimony, another nail is hammered into the illusion Kody so painstakingly nurtured, and every expression from the gallery drives home the fact the family was never equal, never one, never what they were supposed to be. And as the judge requests a short recess, the silence outside the courtroom becomes deafening. Reporters circle like vultures, eager to tell the news far beyond these walls. Supporters and critics alike hum with questions, their voices filling the hallway. But in those walls within the minds of the family members themselves, the truth is much quieter, and much more devastating. Because when the court reconvenes, it won't be merely about dollars and cents anymore. It will be about loyalty. It will be about betrayal. And it will make every single individual associated with this family decide where they are, once and for all. And the next speaker to utter words can untangle the one truth that even Christine herself isn't prepared to learn. The recess closes and the courtroom fills up once more, denser than before. People move back into their seats with the anticipatory tension of those who know the next scene will be blacker than the previous one. Cameras roll again, pencils click, murmurs dissipate across the gallery. But as the judge re-enters, the room is filled with silence once more. Christine sits quietly. Too quietly, her self-control unnerving for a woman who has just witnessed her worst fears realized. But beneath that self-control is steel, the fortitude of one who has already been through the agony of betrayal, and will weather whatever truth is to come. Janelle fidgets next to her, her face pale but resolute, her commitment to Christine more evident than ever. Kody, however, has no such control. He hunches forward, his gaze keen, his eyes raking the room for any hint of vulnerability he might use. He clenches and unclenches his fists, his voice muttering to his attorney. But his posture betrays that which his words do not share. He is trapped. Robyn, on the other hand, is drawn deeper into the chair, her mascara smudged against her cheeks, her weeping now muffled but perpetual. She resembles someone standing on the ground under her feet crumbling, an inch at a time. The judge clears his throat and calls the next witness. The room leans to one side as the name is called. It isn't another money person. It isn't a casual acquaintance. It's one of the older kids, someone who came of age with a fractured household, someone whose voice has been silenced all these years under the rubric of maintaining family harmony. They move forward, tentative but resolute, their presence alone more forceful than any paper could be. When they raise their right hands and glance up at the judge, tension tightens like the tautening of a rope drawn to its breaking point. The attorney starts gently, not wanting to push the witness too quickly. The narrative comes not in statistics or chronology, but in remembrances. Birthdays when one parent was not there, dialogues in which problems were dismissed, a house where love was promised to both but given unevenly. They speak softly, but the truthfulness in their speech cuts more deeply than fury ever might. Kody's expression changes, his jaw clenching. He grumbles at his lawyer, shaking his head as if unable to believe it. But the witness does not waver. They gaze at him,
their voice shaking but growing stronger with each sentence. You said we were one family, but we weren't treated as one. The courtroom breathes in collectively, because no contract or ledger has the power of a child standing before a parent who failed them. Christine's eyes are shining. Janelle holds her hand, and for the first time, even some in the gallery drop their eyes, unable to confront the naked anguish of a child fighting back against her own father. Kody explodes, leans forward, voice thundering, demanding this is manipulation. His children are against him thanks to bitter ex-wives. His lawyer attempts to get him under control, but Kody plows on, his desperation turning to anger. The judge bangs the gavel, demanding order but too late. The damage has been done. His facade has broken for everyone to witness. Robyn sobbing more intensely now, her hand stretched out to Kody's arm, but he pushes her away, his mind fixated on fending off a foe he is powerless to silence. The truth from his own child. The attorney for Christine takes advantage of the moment, being as obvious as possible. If these children were so susceptible to manipulation, maybe it's because they were looking for love and attention that they never got. The gallery mutters once again, the echo of sympathy unmistakable. The witness goes on, her voice settling more. She remembers the nights Christine consoled her when promises were broken, the uncertainty Janelle filled in, when plans were cancelled, and the numerous times Robyn and her kids appeared to get the attention everyone else wasn't given. The disproportion is vividly described, not as figures but as lived experience. And it is damning. And just when it appears the burden of testimony cannot become any heavier, the witness delivers the knockout no one anticipated. Dad, I learned about the Sedona house ahead of everyone else, and you instructed me not to say anything. Gasps rip through the courtroom, even louder than previously. Christine's head swings abruptly. Janelle goes rigid, and Robyn buries her face in both hands. The gallery erupts, the news hitting like a lightning bolt. The gavel is pounded by the judge, calling for silence, but the words remain, impossibly unsaid. If Kody not only concealed the purchase but brought in one of his own children to keep it a secret, the betrayal is even more painful. It isn't merely dishonesty, it's manipulation. It's involving an innocent in the darkness of his decisions. Kody tosses his head back and forth, his voice raw as he screams denials. He says the kid got it wrong, that he just didn't want to cause drama until the moment was opportune. But the witness refuses to yield. Their voice trembles but remains firm. You made me lie to my mom. The room is stuck in that confession, the kind of truth that can't be spun, can't be sugar-coated. Even Kody's lawyer glances down, knowing what's been lost. Because this is no longer about property or money, it's about a betrayal so intimate it can't be reversed. Christine's face sets into lines, her eyes blazing with a combination of anger and grief. Janelle edges closer, saying something only she can hear, but her hold is steady, as if grounding her in the tempest. The judge asks for a second recess, but no one gets up at once. The air is thick with the heaviness of all that's been said, and in all that quiet, there is one truth that's now evident. When court resumes, the case won't only be about what Kody did. It will be about who he really is as a man, and if the illusion of husband and father he presented can withstand another expose. And as the families make their preparations to head home, hushed tones pass through the gallery of one more waiting witness, one who could possibly end this trial in ways no one is ready for. The second recess does nothing to dispel the tension. Far from it, really. The silence that follows seems like the calm before an eruption too huge to be contained. When the gavel at last rings the court back into session, every seat taken, every breath crisp, every gaze trained on the front. Even those who remained skeptical at the beginning can feel it now. This is not merely a family dispute, it's a reckoning.
Kody returns with his shoulders braced, attempting to restore the figure of a man in command. But it's evident that cracks have formed. His eyes are bloodshot, his tie open, his customary swagger muted. Robyn follows behind him, moving sluggishly, her face still tear-streaked. Christine and Janelle sit together, their determination more apparent than ever, the unspoken solidarity between them undeniably there. The judge doesn't waste time. Bring in the next witness. The words land like a drumbeat, and once again the doors at the back open. The person who steps forward is surprising. Someone not used to being in the limelight. A family friend, a name murmured on the fringes of previous episodes, but never seen on screen. Their own testimony starts tentatively, but with each sentence, it becomes clearer. They report private interviews with Kody, moments off camera, moments where his aggravation got the better of him. Phrases that don't just evoke wariness, but disdain, utterances about some wives being too much trouble, kids being distractions, love being something he had to dole out sparingly. Christine's attorney leans forward, compelling the witness to explain. When you use the word ration, what do you mean by that? The reply comes with a weight. He said, love is like money. You give more to the people who are deserving, and less to those who are not. The gallery gasps, and the room appears to tip. One thing to witness favoritism in practice, another entirely to listen to it delineated in Kody's own voice. Christine's lips pucker tightly. Janelle's expression stiffens, and even the judge's brow creases with discomfort. For in that instant, favoritism is no longer suspicion, it's a confession. Kody sits bolt upright, insisting to protest, alleging these words were manipulated, removed from context. But the witness won't back down. They parrot themselves with conviction, their tone unshaking. The shadow of the statement lingers in the air, incapable of denial. Robyn lowers her head, her tears cascading down freely. Guilt or shame, who can tell? But the sight sears itself into the mind of each witness. The woman once regarded as his strongest supporter, now looks as if she bears the weightiest burden of all. The judge demands order, and Christine's attorney adopts a new tack, heading in the direction of the cryptic sealed envelope presented at the beginning of the trial. The courtroom is still abuzz from its mere presence, and now the pressure is on to open it. The judge pauses, considering the possible implications, before finally agreeing. The bailiff advances, holding the envelope with the kind of caution reserved for something unstable, something harmful. Each eye watches as the seal is opened. The paper rustles in the quiet, and its contents are passed to the judge. He reads swiftly, his face showing nothing, but his jaw clenching says it all. He glances up, his voice firm but bitten. This alters the parameters of what we are dealing with here. The papers are handed down, and within weeks, Christine's attorney is waving them in the judge's face. They are not simply account reports. They are communications, email, texts, transcripts of conversations between Kody and his business partners regarding investments, property transfers, and tactics. But hidden in those records is something much more explosive: directives to keep Christine and Janelle in the dark about important decisions. The gallery gasps once more, the sound even louder than before. Christine's eyes shine, but not in surprise this time. Only affirmation of what she had known deep in her bones. Janelle, however, tightens her fists, her face going white, as she understands the extent of betrayal. Kody springs up, yelling, his throat thick and desperate with emotion. He maintains it was strategy, that he was trying to shield them from unnecessary stress, from choices they wouldn't be able to comprehend. But the more he says it, the emptier it rings. The evidence is there, in his own words, irrefutable. And with those words, the picture of unity shatters utterly, leaving exposed a man who used love like commerce, and family like money. The judge restores order again, but the tone in the room has irretrievably changed. It is no longer simply a question of whether or not Kody concealed money or possessions. It is whether he ever planned on respecting the family on which he built his fortune. Christine faces the gallery, her tone steady but unyielding. This had nothing to do with money. It was about control. And control was always greater than love to him. The ensuing silence is oppressive. Kody glares at her, his features contorted in anger and incredulity, but her words strike true. The judge declares that tomorrow will see more witnesses, more testimony, but for the day the court recesses. The gavel comes down, and the crowd descends into hysterical chat, reporters scrambling for the doors, family members exiting with faces etched with the years of anguish. But even as the courtroom is draining out, the question remains louder than ever. If this is just the tip of what's been concealed, what secrets are still waiting in the wings? The following morning, the courthouse is a world of its own. Journalists crowd the steps, their voices piling up, cameras clicking as if history itself is being made. Within the gallery is more crowded than ever, faces pressed with anticipation. Seating is filled to capacity, and the buzz of tension hums like static in the air. Christine comes first, walking with the serene confidence of someone who has nothing left to lose. Janelle stands by her side, her face harder than stone, her allegiance now cut deep enough to be irrevocable. Kody comes along later, his pace quicker, more assertive, as if intent on reclaiming the power slipping from his grasp. Robyn brings up the rear, her shoulders small, her eyes puffy from another night of crying. The gavel strikes, and the judge's voice cuts through the noise. Court is now in session. The words still the room instantly. Everyone knows what's coming today will be heavier, more personal, more dangerous than anything so far. The first witness to be called is not a child, not an expert in finance, but somebody nobody was expecting to be called up to the stand. Meri, the room changes upon her entry. Formerly the first wife, once the foundation upon which a family has been built on beliefs and fidelity, she now strides to the front, with a combination of despair and fortitude. She sits down, her fingers folded in neatness, her eyes resolute. The attorney gets closer carefully. Meri, can you tell me about life for you in the years leading up to when Christine left? Her tone is soft, but her words are heavy. She describes loneliness, promises of partnership that wilted away into silence. She describes episodes when her needs were ignored, her position in the family dwindling, as others ascended. She confesses fault on her part, but her testimony winds back to one key fact. Kody's devotion changed, and once it changed, the foundation of the family began to crack irreparably. The attorney badgers on, questioning whether she knew about the hidden accounts of the Sedona residence. Meri slowly shakes her head. I knew something was off, but I didn't have evidence. He cut me off long before the rest of them caught on. Kody cuts in, his tone edgy. That's not true. You're distorting. The judge quiets him with a look, telling him his moment will arrive. Meri doesn't blink. She goes on, her voice growing stronger, her voice growing louder as she explains how trust was betrayed. And when she finally utters, I was abandoned in every way but name, the courtroom is quiet, because her words possess the hurt of a wound that never healed. Christine lowers her head, her eyes glistening, while Janelle grips the edge of her seat. Robyn sobs quietly, but her tears no longer draw the same sympathy they once did. The gallery murmurs, but no one can deny the impact of Meri's voice, the wife who once stood closest to Kody now standing against him. The attorney glides slowly to the last question. Do you think that Kody was ever doing what was in the best interest of all his wives? Meri pauses, her lips pursed. When she does respond, her voice breaks. No, his love was conditional. And once we no longer qualified, we were no longer worthy in his eyes. Gasps wash over again, the words striking harder than any bank report or previous testimony. The judge sends her off, but the harm remains. As she returns to her seat, head held high, it seems as if she has changed the trial itself. Kody leans forward, his face flushed with anger. He insists on speaking, on refuting the lies, but again the judge forbids it. His attorney murmurs in his ear, but the anger in his eyes reveals a man disintegrating, losing control totally. The next witness stands, and the tension reaches even greater heights. It's another child, but one of Robyn's. The courtroom freezes, murmurs spreading as the teenager rises, uncertain but determined. Theirs is a gentle beginning of testimony, not of Christine or Janelle, but of the burden of favoritism they themselves bore. They speak of being protected, defended, elevated above the others, and of the guilt that followed. They gaze at Robyn as they speak, their voice cracking. You said always that we were the lucky ones, but we were not lucky, we were manipulated. Robyn's cries ring in the courtroom, her hands over her face. Kody is frozen, staring at his child in shock, his mouth forming no words. For in that instant, even the children Robyn believed to be sheltered from it tell the truth, that favoritism does not guard, it corrupts. The witness is finished, and the silence which follows is choking. Christine and Janelle look at each other, their relationship bonding with each secret. Meri remains still, her expression inscrutable, but her very presence a reminder of all that has been lost. The judge finally speaks, his tone level but tinged with seriousness. This court is no longer simply looking at financial impropriety. We are looking at the integrity of a man's oath, his position as husband, as father, as leader of a family he professed to bring together. The gavel comes down, and the courtroom erupts into chaos once more. Reporters swarming the aisles, the gallery abuzz with shock. But above the din, one question stands out above the others. If this is what is being said behind these walls, how much worse will it get when the world at large hears it? The courtroom doors open once more, and this time the energy is charged with tension. Everyone is aware the trial has moved into treacherous ground, where reputations are deteriorating quicker than the court can keep up. The gallery sits forward in their chairs, anticipating the next blow to strike, aware that it will be heavier than the last. Christine sits up straight now, her posture no longer guarded but resolute, nearly defiant. Janelle sitting next to her is as determined, her jaw clenched. Meri, though she says nothing, exudes an odd tranquility, like a woman who has already consumed all she can of sadness, and now merely sits back to observe the truth come to light. In the other room, Kody appears to be a man trapped. His lawyer counsels frantically, but he shakes his head, his eyes crazy, his face white under the rage raging through him. The judge nods, and the prosecutor stands up, clutching a folder thicker than any to this point. He starts slowly, carefully. Your Honor, we are introducing into evidence a string of emails and taped phone calls received by subpoena. These calls directly pertain to Mr. Brown, and previously unreported financial accounts. The courtroom is filled with whispers. The head of Kody snaps up, and his face is ashy. The judge slams the gavel hard to quiet the room, but the tension is already too vocal to be hushed. The prosecutor initiates the recording, and it fills the courtroom. Kody's voice, impatient, sharp, unmistakable, rings through the speakers. He speaks of moving money quietly, and ensuring Christine doesn't see a dime. His tone is cold, calculating, not that of a man begging for justice, but of one scheming domination. Robyn gasps out loud, her hand shooting to her mouth. Christine clamps her eyes shut, her lips shaking. Janelle's fists curl at her sides, anger emanating from her silence. And in that instant, the courtroom no longer argues opinion or memory. It hears the raw, irrefutable noise of Kody convicting himself. The prosecutor goes on, rolling through quotes that draw a portrait of falsehood, orders to redirect money, bulldozing of financial advisors to conceal documents, even offhand comments about how as long as they're fighting one another, they won't come after me. The gallery is shocked. Correspondents write frantically, whispers spreading like wildfire. Meri dips her head, tears streaming silently, as if listening evidence of all that she had sensed but never could express. Kody erupts, slapping his palm on the table. This is taken out of context. You don't know what those calls were about, but the damage is done. His voice, filled with anger and condescension, hangs in the air even after the recordings stop. The judge warns him sharply, threatening contempt, but Kody can't hide the desperation spilling over. Then there is the coup de grace. The prosecutor drops one more bomb, a payment to an account in Robyn's name, made just days after Christine launched her court filing. The courtroom gasps more loudly than ever, the implication clear. Robyn gapes in horror, whispering, I didn't know. I didn't know. Her sobs ring out once more, but this time there is no pity, only suspicion. The confession cuts through the courtroom, like a knife. Was Robyn an accomplice, or simply another pawn in Kody's desperate game? The judge requests order, but the storm is already unleashed. The gallery is abuzz, Christine's legal team glancing tensely at one another, and reporters scrambling to write headlines before the day is even out. Christine at last raises her head, her words firm, crisp and piercing over the chaos. This is who he is. Not the husband we trusted, not the father we wished for. This is the man behind the mask. Her words thunder, hitting the heart of the trial. Janelle quiets with a silent but vocal affirmation, and Meri wipes away her tears with a calmness that indicates her allegiance no longer belongs to Kody in any way. Robyn, shattered and shaking, seeks out Kody's hand, but he retracts it, his eyes ablaze with betrayal, even towards one who remained faithful. The judge, his voice firm, calls a recess to restore order. The gavel bangs,
but the reverberations seem to go on forever. The families disperse to their sides. Muttering increases as the crowd is left with the acrid flavor of truths too weighty to be denied. And as the crowd exits the courtroom, there is one thing that's on everyone's lips. If the proof has already demolished Kody's reputation, what will the ultimate decision do to the empire he constructed? Fans, what are your thoughts? Was Robyn really not aware of the funds coming into her name? Or has she been shielding Kody the whole time? Let us know in the comments below, because your voice makes this community stronger. And if you haven't yet, be sure you subscribe to Sister Wife Daily Scoop, so you don't miss the next turn in this unspooling drama. The last day breaks heavily. The courthouse ringed with a wall of cameras and voices. Headlines have already disseminated the recordings to every outlet. Kody's voice played back on morning television, analyzed by pundits, played back in hushed tones across the country. But within, the courtroom is strangely quiet, as if everyone senses they are about to see the final installment of a Tempest years brew. Christine goes in first, her footsteps steady, her face lit up with something that is almost relief. Janelle goes in next, bracing and unworded, her very presence a armor. Meri is behind them, less vocal but no less significant, still echoing in the minds of everyone who listened to her decision to testify. Robyn goes in alone, her face white, eyes puffy, her usual protector role filled with the burden of uncertainty. And then Kody. Unkempt hair, wrinkled suit, lost swagger. He doesn't resemble the man who used to reign over a kingdom of wives and children. He resembles a man with the destruction of his own hand. The judge arrives, and the audience falls silent. The gavel comes down. We are present to render verdict. The prosecutor rises, recounting the case succinctly, the secret accounts, the transfers, the recordings, the witnesses. He depicts a man who put power over love, silence over candor. Kody's attorney attempts one final haphazard defense, but his words fail against the monolith of evidence. The voice of the judge silences the courtroom. This court holds that financial wrongdoing did occur, and that Mr. Brown did so with the intent to defraud his family. Custodial and financial rights will be remodeled accordingly. Gasps emanate from the room. Christine holds Janelle's hand, her eyes welling up with tears she doesn't attempt to conceal. Meri releases a shuddering breath, her shoulders convulsing in silent release. Robyn slumps into her chair, openly weeping, while Kody sits frozen in shock, as if the verdict were a foreign language he can't decipher. The empire he's created with authority and assurance falls apart in an instant, substituting nothing but shattered trust in its stead. The judge proceeds, ordering Christine and Janelle to have control over disputed assets, and providing for protection of the children. The decree is unambiguous. The man who used to dictate everything no longer gets to make the rules. Kody gets up quickly, his voice cracking. You don't get it. I sacrificed everything for this family. Everything. His words linger in the air, naked and desperate, but no one responds. Christine glances at him, not with hostility, but with something icier acceptance. You sacrificed everything to yourself, Kody. That's what we finally realize. The gavel comes down again, decisively unyielding. The trial is finished. The gallery erupts into commotion, as journalists scramble to record reactions. Cameras click, microphones pushed forward. The burden of decades of concealment now official history. Christine advances, her tone level but assertive. This is not about revenge. It is about freedom. For me, for my children, for anyone ever silenced in the name of loyalty. Janelle adds, resolute and unshakable. Families deserve truth, and we fought for it. Meri remains quiet, but as she turns to go, her tear-stained face wears the quiet dignity of one who finally emerged from shadows. Kody is still standing, looking at the bench where once sat the judge. Robyn holds on to him, but his eyes are distant, caught up in the realization that control has eluded his grasp forever. And as the crowd overflows onto the courthouse steps, one reality stands above the rest. The sister wives narrative is no longer about Kody's control, but about the women who rallied together and rewrote the ending. Christine and Janelle, side by side into the flashbulbs, their bond as one. Meri trails, not behind them, but no longer behind. Robyn remains in the doorway, caught in the conflicting forces of love and infidelity, burdened by what she has done. And Kody, he vanishes into the sea of microphones, engulfed by the kingdom of fame he so desperately sought. but can no longer continue. The story doesn't end neatly. It never could. But what happened in that courtroom will echo for years, reshaping the way their family, and the world, remembers them.
Viewers, now we want your input. Do you think Kody can ever mend the harm that's been done? Or is this the end of his hold on the family? Leave your comments below, and let's discuss. And if you've been keeping up with us as we followed along on this journey, be sure you are subscribed to Sister Wife Daily Scoop, because this story may have concluded in the courtroom, but the ripple effects have only just started.